reintroduce myself. I'm Michael Bird. I'm the Director of Emergency Services for Richland County. You're sitting in the Emergency Operations Center, the operations room. This is where we handle disasters and events and long-term emergencies. And everybody remembers the flood that we had back in October. Some of you probably more than others. But if you can imagine us having 50-something people in this room and more over here in our communications room, all of them working extremely hard to try to mitigate the effects of the storm and the flood and respond to all the emergencies and all the things that we had going on. It's something that none of us will ever forget, and it will stay with us for a long time. But one of the reasons why we were able to handle the storm in the manner in which we did was because of preparing for natural emergencies, man-made emergencies, anything you can think of. I think we have a risk of every type of emergency except a tidal wave, tsunami. So if it gets this far inland, and a volcano probably, then we probably got real issues. But we have a great staff. We prepare all the time. We have equipment that helps us do that and helps us respond. And tonight you're going to get an opportunity to see some of that equipment and hear from a few people that are involved in the planning and the decisions that we take during an emergency. So we're going to hear from, first of all, Mike Kalick, who's our emergency planner. Then Mr. Ken O'Quinn is going to come up, and he's got a little short presentation to talk about our weather system and how we monitor what's going on out there and how it impacts our planning and our response. And then after that, everyone's going to get up and we're going to go outside in the garage, and you're going to be able to see some of the equipment and talk with some of the people that actually operate that equipment. So with that, I'm going to introduce Mike Kalick, who is our emergency planner. Mike?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Are y'all like all in shock from listening to the county coroner? I mean, it's like, I would have had that. Well, as the emergency manager, I'm even worse than Gary. I'm the grim reaper of all grim reapers. When I show up or when I'm involved, it's a bad day in the county. And we've already had that. I'm not going to talk to you about the flood. I'm not going to talk to you about emergency management. I want to talk about emergency plans for you guys, for the families, for the citizens, everybody. It's vital to have individual plans, family plans, whatever you can get a hold of and prepare for the future. Your families, your elderly parents, pets. Animal Services was here earlier. I don't know if you talked about pet sheltering or pet for emergencies. Everybody owns pets. I own three dogs myself. Let's see, get this thing working. In emergency management, you got the 4 planning P's in emergencies. Emergency planning. You got to plan for people, pets, and your property. Every kind of different disaster affects all of that. It affects us as individuals. It affects our pets. And of course, it affects our properties. So it's very important that you plan. We call it the 4 Ps in emergency management. Family disaster plans. How many of y'all have a disaster plan? Wow. So in an event, you have one? In the event that the first responders cannot get to you, let's just say we have a horrendous ice storm. The roads are impassable, you can't get anywhere. They're all iced up, the bridges are iced up. There's no power, you guys lose power at your home. No one can get to you, there's no communications. What do?
Survive.
You shelter in place pretty much, and hopefully you'll have enough supplies that you can survive until help comes. Heating is a big thing. So that's why I say, you should have some type of disaster plan, whether it doesn't have to be written, but have a supply, and I'll get into that. Outside of the Bay Area, when y'all leave here, I got some guides that y'all can have, how to prepare a kit. I got stuff for hurricanes, earthquakes, and a disaster guide for all hazards. So please pick those up. Do y'all have weather? How many of y'all have weather radios? Those are great. Those are lifesavers, especially we're now in the tornado season. It's important that you have these weather radios. We do have emergency weather radios for each one of y'all. So when y'all leave here, come by the desk where Ken O'Quinn's going to be at. I'll be out there also, and we'll give you. It's a portable. You could actually carry it with you. Little emergency radio, hazard radio. So you'll like it. I use that one all the time. I've had mine for about 4 or 5 years, and it's very reliable. I say the first 72 hours are on you. That's 3 days. You should have enough supplies in your home or your business. We might get stranded in our business. Well, you know, how many people keep supplies in businesses? God forbid we get stuck at work and you can't go anywhere. But this is mainly geared for your homes. First 72 hours are on you. You should have these items here. They come in handy when you can't get anything else done. So just make sure that you have a good supply. Prescriptions is a big thing. If you go into an emergency shelter because you can no longer live in your home or it's damaged, make sure you bring stuff that you would have at home. And the main thing that the American Red Cross deals with when people come into the shelters, they forget to bring their medications. A lot of us take medications, so you know that's vital that you bring that, or medications for your children. That's very important. So really have enough supplies to last at least for 3 days. Again, emergency plans. If you got families, let your family know what the plan is. Emergency contacts. It's important that you let your relatives know, and ones that are out of state and in state, have an emergency contact list. And it's good to have one person who does not live in the area where you're at, that's either somewhere in South Carolina or outside of South Carolina, and let that be your emergency contact, because if you have your immediate family member as an emergency contact person, and let's just say, God forbid, they get killed or they're stranded, they can't get a hold of anything, you know. So it's good to have someone outside your family that's outside the state that can be an emergency contact number that emergency officials can get a hold of. Know how to protect your family, and I'm going to show you what Richland County is vulnerable at. And Mr. Burr did say we're affected by everything except tsunamis and volcanoes. Well, there's a lot more stuff that can affect us here. So and I got a list here, and I'll show you. Some of those you're probably going to say, "Well, I never thought about that." But you know, make sure you understand the type of disaster that occurs, whether it's weather, man-made, or whatever the case. And listen to the emergency officials, listen to the weather radios, because those weather radios also have emergency broadcast systems that we could get on and actually broadcast stuff on there. As you know, we have VC Summer down the road, that nuclear power plant. And I think the day before yesterday, they hit the sirens for testing. So you can imagine in the 10-mile area, a lot of citizens that live in that area, they heard that sirens going off, you know, but hopefully they all knew what that was. It was just a test. But when you hear something like that, panic sets in. So know what to do or know where to go based on what occurs. So you know, you got to become knowledgeable of what type of events can happen, you know, during the crisis. That's just disaster plans. Caring for animals. Again, how many of y'all have pets? A lot of us got pets. What happens if you have to vacate your home? What do you do with your pets?
He goes first.
Yeah. A lot of people in the past, especially during Hurricane Katrina, a lot of the deaths were because people refused to leave their homes, and they end up drowning in their own homes because they had pets, and they refused to leave that house because of that. A lot of people perished because of that. Well, of course, y'all familiar with FEMA. FEMA came in and tried to strike up all kinds of regulations and try to help the issues about. It's still ongoing with dealing with pets, because the American Red Cross shelters right now, from what I understand, they still don't accept pets into the shelters. But counties, we kind of work around that. You know, if you don't have a place to take your pet, we'll find something for you guys. Our animal services is a great asset. They do have a mobile animal shelter cage, so they do a great job in dealing with emergencies with pets. There's our vulnerabilities. Hurricane effects, we're 100 miles from the coast, at least 100 miles, but the effects of a hurricane that could hit the coast, when Hugo hit, I was here, the winds in Columbia were 100 miles an hour. 100 miles an hour from Hugo. That's 125 miles from where it hit, the direct impact. So, we still have effects from hurricanes. As y'all know, severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, we're right in the midst of the season. We had some last night. I heard thunder rumbling about 3 o'clock in the morning, and we had some pretty high winds. Flooding, I don't want to go there. I still have nightmares about that. Earthquakes, y'all aware that we could have a big earthquake here in Columbia? Yes, South Carolina is the second state in this country here with the highest probability of an earthquake occurring. Yeah, fault line runs, it kind of does a U, but this fault line's all over the state. We have earthquakes every day in South Carolina, if y'all don't know that. It's every day they occur, but you don't feel them. They're small, thank goodness, but we have earthquakes almost every day in South Carolina. Wildfires, we're in the wildfire season, as y'all know, that could be bad. Hazardous materials, chemical spills, and you're back, think about the freight trains that run through our area and here downtown Columbia and your neighborhoods. Who knows what those trains are carrying? Trucks down the interstate, there's always wrecks everywhere, so you never know what could happen with that. Dam failures, don't need to go there. We saw that happen. And we surely don't want Lake Murray Dam to fail. Winter weather, thank God we got through that, and we pretty much became unscathed with the winter weather. It wasn't that bad. State Capitol, why is the state capitol a vulnerable threat? What do we have there? What's going on right now at the state capitol? General Assembly's there. All of our legislators, senators, boy, what a target that is. So that's a vulnerable. We got military base, Fort Jackson. I think I have, military installations. We have that on there. Nuclear power plant, I mentioned BC Summer. That's only, 15, how many miles is it? 15, 20 miles from here, from Columbia. It's not that far from us. Richland, portions of Richland County are in the 10-mile emergency protective zone area, so even Richland County is within the area where BC Summer's at. Terrorism, you see that, what's going on worldwide, that's happening every day. That could come here. Airports, we have our Owens Field Airport, and we got Columbia Airport, which is not Richland County, but those are still big airports. We could have issues with that. I said military installations, Shire Force Base, McIntyre Air National Guard, and Fort Jackson. So, and just think, Fort Jackson being the second largest combat training unit in the country, what a target that terrorists would want to take that out to wipe that training camp out. So those are just some of the things. See why I say I'm the Grim Reaper? I think of all these bad things that could happen here in Richland County, but that's how we plan, make plans. We do emergency plans, and like Mr. Bird said, we plan probably 97, 98% of our time. And that's a good thing, because we wouldn't want to be responding 98% of the time. That'd be bad. Something happening bad every day in Richland County. Weather radios, we got those displayed out there, so y'all be able to see those. These are just some of the pictures, some of the perils that we deal with here in Richland County, floods. There's a hazmat situation there. We had a tanker explosion on I-26, if y'all remember that, just a few months ago. That was bad. Winter storms, we get them here. We get ice storms here and winter weather, wildfires. Wildfires occur all the time, all around us here all the time. Thunderstorms and lightning, that's already hit us, and it's going to be coming this summer. Fires, that happens so frequently here in Columbia and Richland County, it's scary. Extreme heat, boy, we know that, right, guys? Earthquakes, we're vulnerable with an earthquake here in Columbia too. Tornadoes, nuclear power plants, hurricanes, and that's the effect of a hurricane. That actually was taken in Venice,ville 160 miles from the coast, and that's from a hurricane effect. That's what it did. The winds were still that strong. That's our most common threat: severe thunderstorms, threats of tornadoes. That is our biggest threat here in Columbia and Richland County, because it occurs so much. But that could do so much damage too, like everything else here. But that's one of our biggest threats. That's all I got. Got any questions, anything? You guys good?
Hello, everybody. Well, first off, if I start pointing and doing some weird TV gestures, forgive me. I was in TV for 25 years and I can't seem to spring myself of that. But anyway, for those of you who missed the weather for this evening because you had to come here or you came here, looks like some showers will be here by 10 o'clock tonight, maybe clearing out by 6 in the morning, and then tomorrow through the weekend, beautiful, sunny, dry, cool. Will be about 50 in the morning, but Sunday morning, if you've started your gardens, watch out because we'll be right down to around freezing on Sunday morning. So you have to cover everything, your plants. That time of year, it's April, you can kind of either be 90 degrees or you can be down to 30, and that's what we're looking at. Okay, when I first started here, the challenge was how can a meteorologist be an emergency planner in emergency services? And it didn't take long because if you think about it, most incidents have to do or tie in with weather, whether it be the flooding in advance of an incident that occurred, or whether it be a tanker that turns over on the interstate and explodes. What are the winds going to do afterward, and who will it be affecting? So weather plays a big role in emergency services. Well, one of the things that we have been lacking, not here, but in the entire weather industry, are weather stations. And here's what they look like. This is a weather station here. We have put together a network of 38 weather stations so far. We have 60. This is going to be across the entire country and anywhere that I can ever find, the biggest hyper-local network of weather stations. In other words, wherever you live in this county, you will be within 2 to 3 miles or less of a weather station. That's kind of neat. Not only for planning for your gardens, but for us, that helps us to determine what the weather's going to be and what we need to do. So we have been in action. George Rice has been working very hard on these. These are towers that we put them on, 30-foot mast towers, and that's the weather station you'll get to see shortly. Each of these weather stations go to a single server, and we've developed a website for you to be able to view this data. So we can see it, but you'll be able to see it as well. The website is rcwinds.com, and we'll show you the website outside shortly. We also have an app, the App Store, Google Play, and it's RC space WINDS. And what that stands for is Weather Information Network Data System. Neat acronym. I like it. Okay. What are the uses? Well, of course, we had the big flooding. We noted that Gills Creek had all of the, well, some of the highest amounts of rainfall. Wildfires. Think about what happened, I don't know if you recall, Myrtle Beach 6-7 years ago. The wind shifted in the middle of the night, caught people off guard. They didn't have enough weather stations around to monitor the fire and what the winds were doing. And the wind shifted and took out a large area of property, which was not good. Hazmat incidents, wintry weather, high winds from last night. We had winds recorded in Ballantyne at one of our stations at 61 miles per hour. Weather Service went out this afternoon and discovered there were winds between 60 and 80 miles per hour in a small band that did some straight line wind damage. So it wasn't a tornado, but it was just wind nonetheless that did some damage. And of course, special events. We have a weather station on top of Williams-Brice Stadium. And that is helpful in a number of ways because Williams-Brice on a Saturday night becomes, what, the 4th or 5th largest city in the state. So you got a lot of people that we're responsible for protecting. Anytime you're sitting at waiting for the train to pass, you might notice, see, I'm pointing again. You might notice these placards there. Each of these rail cars has some sort of threat to them or potential threat. And if something were to happen, a derailment or something, we have a weather station nearby that we can use to tell where the wind is blowing and who to get out of the way. And what these weather stations will do is produce what's called a plume model, so that we can put in at the closest weather station the address of the location, and it will show which way the winds are blowing. So if an accident happened here, this indicates that this area, these neighborhoods would be in danger, and the incident commander would have to let these people know to evacuate if that is the case. So that's another big safety issue with, or plus with the plume model. Okay, so when we're all done, we will have a network. Now this has been 4 years in the making. They take a while to put up and to get going. It's a very complex system. And it didn't take me long to realize why not every community has one of these systems, because it's very complex to get all of this together. But we have 38 now, we'll have over 60 when it's done, the largest in the country, providing real-time weather data. Use them and enhance emergency planning, response, mitigation, and recovery. And it's funded in part through grant award.